Welcome everyone to a special edition of Random Topics Thursday on Random Topics, called Random Topics Tuesday today. Uh, this is your boy Gavin Richard. Welcome again to Gavin Richard Presents. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe right now. We're waiting for a few people to come in, but we got our brother, the one and only author Shawn James. Of course, Shawn is no stranger to the show. We love having him come on all the time. He has a YouTube channel and self-entitled Shawn James. We also have brother, and he'll be waiting to come in, brother Bernard, aka King BJ, who's gonna drop by and give us some wisdom and knowledge. But y'all check out a couple of books that Shawn has, including John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. He also has Eternal Night, which is out. That was his latest book that dropped in October. Shawn, of course, is the author of over 75 books and counting at best. As that, and I've always maybe screwed up a little bit, but I think that's correct, right, Shawn?
That's about right. It's getting near about 75, 80.
Yeah, but y'all check out Eternal Night. It's going to make a great stocking stuffer. My friend, thank you for coming on tonight.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I know we usually do this on Thursdays, but being that Thursday is Christmas Eve and we're all waiting for Santa Claus and so forth, all that good stuff, and being
Yeah.
with our families, we were gonna go ahead and do this, man. So Shawn, I guess we could just go ahead and get right into the topics, into what is going on now. I do want to get into this topic in particular. Now, of course, everybody knows about this coronavirus bill that was passed in the Congress, and that was a whole farce. We'll get to that a little bit later. But something that piqued my attention, this shout out to our brother TD Hip Hop. He actually commented on this, and I saw it, and I went and looked at it. It doesn't surprise me. And also, shout out to Vicky Dillard because she mentioned this in regards to some comments that were made by uh, Alexandria Acosta Cortez. Yeah, I think that's it. AOC. So she's actually Shawn's congressional representative. Not that he supports her, but I wanted to show this with everybody, and we're going to take a look and we're going to get Shawn's comments on it. Now, those of you that can see, this is from a recent interview that she did. She wants, it says entitled, wants coronavirus reparations for minority communities. It's an article written by Crystal Mesa of Where We Are MITU. And it says here for minority groups, there's no denying that COVID-19 has extreme effects. And in a recent interview, long story short, she says, according to reports, COVID-19 deaths have appeared at disproportionate amounts in African American and immigrant communities. In New York, where COVID-19 deaths have reached all highs, nearly a third of New York City's infections are in Queens, a city with one of the most diverse populations in the world. Now, it says here as you read further that the most people who are the hardest hit neighborhoods are ones populated by undocumented, that means illegal, and working class people. In a recent interview with Democracy Now!, Congresswoman Alexandria Acosta Cortez called out Trump's response to the pandemic for its part in the many deaths occurring across the United States, highlighting them deaths of incompetence, deaths of science denial, and deaths of inequality. In a recent interview, Acosta Cortez called for coronavirus reparations for minorities. I'm not going to read everything, but I'll just get to her quote. When it comes to Queens, New York, she's quoted saying, "This is one of the most working class, and as you mentioned, blackest and brownest communities in New York City. It is extraordinarily dense. Even for New York City, it is a very dense and densely populated, community. A very dense and densely populated." So she used two adjectives. Uh, Back to back. It's no surprise that, in the wake of this pandemic, right after Trump's administration announced this public charge rule, which basically said if you're undocumented and seek public services, public health care, SNAP, WIC, etc., then you will be essentially put on a fast track to either denial of citizenship or outright deportation. So she says in this tweet, COVID deaths are disproportionately spiking in Black and Brown communities. Why? Because the chronic toll of redlining, environmental racism, wealth gap, etc., are underlying health conditions. Inequality is comorbidity. Comorbidity. COVID relief should be drafted with the lens of reparations. Now, I take issue with the term of reparations because, of course, reparations is something that we, as in the African American community, have fought for valiantly, tried to get, well, at least some of us have tried to fight for, and others, of course, have been against that. But yet we see other minority groups getting this. And I distinctly don't like the fact that she ties it to undocumented immigrants and brown people. Not that I'm surprised that she did. So, Shawn, this is your congressional representative. I would like if you could give me your thoughts on her latest tweets, her comments. What do you have to say about her comments on reparations and I guess also the fact that they're even linking this with undocumented immigrants?
I'm deeply disgusted by your AOC going out here and hijacking a new black media talking point like reparations, because reparations is supposed to be something for foundational black Americans. And it's a point that foundational black Americans have fought for. And we are
Right.
not talking about reparations as related to COVID relief. When we talk about reparations, we're talking about getting tangible reparations in the form of financial cash checks for not only the 400 years or 500 years of slavery, the 100 years of Jim Crow, and the ongoing discrimination that Black people like myself suffer in the job market, the housing market, and when we're trying to start small businesses. So, what your AOC is trying to do is she's trying to hijack the talking point of new Black media, and she's also trying to minimize foundational Black Americans and their contributions to building this country. And what she's trying to do is trying to turn it into a minority talking point, but it has never had anything to do with minorities and these so-called brown people. The brown people did not build this country. The brown people were not the ones who suffered systemic racism for centuries, and the brown people have nothing to do with any sort of things as related to the whole campaign as related to reparations. And for her to talk about bringing this in with COVID, that is an egregious thing for me, because this has nothing to do with COVID at all. No, the whole
Right.
discussion of reparations has to do with that 500 years of slavery, has to do with that 100 years of Jim Crow, and has to do with the current and ongoing discrimination that keeps men like myself out of the job market and keeps us from starting small businesses because we can't get loans. This, and also keeps us out of the housing market. I mean, this has nothing to do with COVID at all. And this woman needs a hard check. And I wish I could just show her the video of Park Jester, the neighborhood, one of the neighborhoods she represents, to show her all of the small businesses that went out of business during the lockdown. And I wish I could show her the district she neglects as she continues to run her mouth and make talking points that do not even fit the arguments she's trying to make. I mean, she's sitting here talking about COVID reparations, which is one of the most retarded things I have ever heard in my life, and then trying to tie it to Black and Brown coalition. Well, I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with we don't have anything to do with any brown people as related to reparations. And she should not be allowed to even use that talking point. I wish Professor Black Truth could get in on this, because this is something that he has talked about, just like I've talked about. And when we talk about it, the tangible of reparations is only, like Tariq Nasheed, the same thing, is only for foundational Black Americans. It has nothing to do with COVID. It has nothing to do with brown people. And this woman needs to be hard checked, because she doesn't even know what she's talking about. And we cannot let her come in and talk about immigrants who have nothing to do with our campaigns to try to get tangibles to repay Black people for the slavery, the Jim Crow, the discrimination that we suffer. I mean, that has nothing to do with anything with COVID. And that talking point really needs to be stamped out by foundational Black Americans. And we need to let it be known you're not going to get away with this. And you're not going to try to use this to try to get something for immigrants and so called minorities, which is another talking point they like to use so they can get tangibles off the backs of Black people at our expense. And we need to let Alexandria Ocasio Cortez know there is no Black Brown coalition. When it comes down to foundational Black Americans as related to tangibles, we are going to stand and represent on our own.
Let me ask you something. Why do you think then that people? Why was she reelected? Why do we keep voting for these people over and over again? Like,
Well,
uh, like I see Maxine Waters, for instance, even in her district, 43, out there in Los Angeles, it's one of the most decrepit and poorest districts in, I think, in the United States, one of them. And I'm not saying that to disparage Los Angeles, because New Orleans certainly has its share of poverty, its share of homeless, sadly homeless population, areas that I wouldn't even go in. But and so does Atlanta and other states and cities. But why do they keep getting reelected? I don't understand that.
well, the big problem in America is that most Americans, excuse me, take their voting rights for granted, and a lot of Americans are not very well informed because they think that if they vote straight down a ticket, that they are supporting a group of politicians that are going to help them. But what they really don't understand is it's not about voting for a party; it's about voting for the person who you can hold accountable. See, most Americans they think of politics in terms of political parties, but I don't think of politics in terms of political parties. I think of politicians in terms of results and the tangibles they bring back to the community. And your AOC was a complete failure as related to that. I mean, she did nothing but try to make herself into a celebrity over 2 years. But because we have a lot of people out here, especially a lot of baby boomers, they just take their voting rights for granted, and they believe in propaganda like they hear in the media. Oh, the evil Donald Trump. We have to stop the evil Donald Trump. So they vote straight down that ticket and they vote against their own interests, not thinking about holding this person accountable. In a lot of cases, they don't pick their own candidates. And usually they just go with these ready made candidates like AOC, who are dumber than a box of rocks. And they go with her instead of saying, look, I need a candidate who will hear what we have to say, will support our agenda. And if they don't bring back tangibles, we can hold that person accountable by voting them out of office. And that's something the American people just don't do because they take their voting rights for granted and they give passes to incompetent people like your Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, who clearly shows that with each passing day, she's dumber than a box of rocks and is no way near qualified for the congressional seat that I believe that she practically stole in that primary. And if it wasn't for her big mouth, she would have been gone a long time ago.
All right, most definitely. We got a couple of people. Dwayne Richard says, keep going. I'm all ears. Garrett Gregory says, hello. What's up, guys? Thank y'all for tuning in. Yeah, I'm just blown away though why we keep reelecting these people. That's the hard part for me to understand after, I guess, years and years and years of no results. Uh, and I'm not gonna lie to you. When I started voting before, I guess my third eye was open, I was doing the same thing where I just voted for people where I knew them, and in some situations I still do because I've had friends who were running for the first time for particular offices, and as a friend, I would support them. That's natural. You support people that you love and who are you're close with, but someone like Alexandria Acosta, who clearly has no idea what the hell she's saying and talking about, yet she keeps getting reelected. She won. I don't know who the gentleman she was running against at that time. You might know, but
He
uh,
was a former teacher who
it was
lived
a
in
phone.
Parkchester,
Right.
and he really wanted to help. But the whole thing is, the people there. There were a lot of people there who just they voted straight down that ticket because they believed the Biden propaganda telling them, "Oh, you have to stop the evil Donald Trump." And all Republicans are bad. It's like, no, it's not about the evil Donald Trump. This woman is incompetent, and she's going to run you into the ground. And I think you're having audio issues.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Alex Padilla is taking over Kamala Harris's seat in Congress. But I noticed since people were talking about this, because there are some people who don't like that pick. But I noticed with the Latino people, they're not looking for symbolism; they look for results.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, when they voted for Donald Trump, I had people, and it wasn't surprising because there are people on my Facebook page who are tied to the Democratic Party. They're in certain seats, so I'm not shocked that they would, I guess, say disparaging remarks about straight black men and also try to defend Joe Biden despite his racist history. But it was just evident that they were settled for symbolism. They know for a fact, especially after you heard the call, and we did it last week, that Biden really has no black agenda, that he really not going to do anything for you. What you got was lip service, and really he was the one giving all the lip. He was talking down to them, but they're looking at what the results are. They're supporting somebody who is going to support them. And you noticed after all the black community did to help Joe Biden win and Kamala Harris, you have no black man or black woman taking up that seat.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. The whole thing is that Hispanics come looking for tangibles, and they come as a unified group, whereas black people are very fragmented, and that's the reason why we can't really get anything going because we have all these different groups and different factions, and nobody's on the same page. Meanwhile, Hispanics, they're not taking empty symbolism. They're not taking token first Hispanic or first whatever. They're saying, look, we demand tangibles from day one, and if we don't get tangibles, we're not going to vote for this guy. And I've seen that in my own Bronx neighborhood where I used to live. I mean, they practically control the Bronx and the Bronx area because they demand tangibles from day one.
hmm So, in relation to what she said about Queens, let me, because I'm not from New York, but you can obviously school me. What is it about? Okay, what's she saying about Queens? Is that true about it being diverse? I only know it from Coming to America.
It is
When-
fairly
but
diverse, but the whole thing is that there are still some predominantly white areas, but there are areas where there are blacks, there are areas where there are Hispanics, there are areas where there are Arabs, and there are areas where there are Asians. But a lot of people there, again, still vote straight down a Democratic ticket
mhm.
because they really don't try to have an agenda of their own. Usually, well, especially when it comes down to a lot of predominantly black areas, they just vote straight down a Democratic ticket because they get, well, again, buy into that evil Donald Trump or evil Republican or racist propaganda, and they wind up voting against their own interests.
Okay, most definitely. Now, speaking of that evil Donald Trump, uh, and we're gonna bring in somebody in a second. We're gonna bring Brother Bernard in a minute, because I see that he's here and he's waiting. But I do want to get into this. Of course, most people know already that Congress has approved a $600 new stimulus package, supposedly $900 billion, and this has been going on for the last 7 months or more. Probably six, I would say 6 or 7 months, where they've been debating about giving the American people a new stimulus package, more money in relief. And There are issues with it. Of course, a lot of people take issue with the fact that it's $600, where in some countries, I believe in France, they're paying $8,000 to their citizens in relief. You have different nations that are paying, giving people, of course, time off and giving them pay on that. The American people are not doing here in the United States. They're not even doing that. You're getting $600, where a congressperson makes $179,000 a year. Uh, the vice president of the United States makes 230,000. Of course, when you're a Speaker of the House and so forth, that goes up because it's an office. But you can check out this article here that we have hours before lawmakers voted on multi-trillion-dollar government funding package that included $900 billion COVID-19 relief bill. Congressional aides were spotted wheeling in the legislation. By the way, everybody doesn't qualify for that. Uh, as it was the last time where they gave you $1,200, that was only based off of your income, whether you were single household, single member, or household member. That varied. So it's not something that's guaranteed to go to all Americans. And Trump is already saying, and I'm going to go get into this, that he plans on vetoing it because, good evening, Tim McClure, James Earl Mones, and I see what, and I got to say this too, YouTube is starting to censor some of my videos. I think I have a shadow ban on my videos, my live stream, because I'm seeing some comments that are not appearing right now in StreamYard that I see on YouTube. I saw that happen recently. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yes, I want to get your thoughts, and I'm going to bring in Brother Bernard. But Trump is planning on vetoing it. And a lot of people don't know this, and say what you want about Trump. But my understanding is that he was one of them to give actually at least $4,000 to the individuals and to families instead of this measly $600 payment. And you can look here. The total bill is worth more than $2.3 trillion, including support for small businesses impacted by the pandemic, $600 payments for most individuals, supplemental unemployment insurance, regular funding for federal agencies, and a bevy of tax breaks for companies. Now, it says, how did lawmakers read 560 pages an hour before voting on the bill? The simple answer is they didn't. In fact, there was a great deal of confusion in both media and Congress on what precisely lawmakers were voting on. See, America, that is your Congress at work. And look, here's our friend Alexandria Acosta Cortez. Sean,
Yep.
Congress is expected to vote on the single largest bill in United States history today. As of about 1 p.m., members don't even have the legislative text of it. No member can honestly say they know exactly what they voted for this evening, said Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona, who voted against the legislation. That is a reason alone to vote no. And he's a doctor. And I kind of agree with him because it's certainly not wise to support something you don't know, obviously. But Gosar was right. Fees covered at length on Monday many of the provisions contained in the COVID-19 relief bill, highlighting its many glaring problems. Because of its massive length, we still don't know everything in the package, in which several bills tied into one. One of the things that are in here, uh, and of course, you can say what you want about Fox News, but this was also in Yahoo Finance. They reports some of the lesser known provisions have raised some eyebrows. Among them are a pair of assistant programs in Pakistan, where 15 million will be put toward democracy programs and 10 million will be distributed to gender programs. Huh?
What does
This
it have to do with
report
America?
exactly, Sean. What does gender programs have to do with COVID?
Good critical question I have to ask.
Not
I
to
got
mention, oh, yes, not to mention also $40 million I saw, and say what you want, whether it's Fox News or whatever. May have my issues with Fox, but you know what? I have my issues with CNN too. No, as far as I'm concerned, you get your news here. I get my news from New Black Media. I get my news from Professor Blacktruth, from Shawn James, from the Judge Joe Brown Show with Valerie Denise Jones. Get your news from Gavin Richard Presents, TD Hip Hop, Nicole's View, We All Be TV, Brother Ron Hurd, Kulik, and a host of others, Vicky Dillard, Dr. Boyce Watkins. Stop going to CNN. My parents, God love, I love them to death, but all they do is watch CNN, and all it does, especially if you don't like Donald Trump, it's going to make your blood pressure go up and down, over and over, because that's all they talk about. Am I right?
Yeah, they're practically obsessed with Donald Trump. And
Right,
I
and that's why Trump won the first time. Go ahead, Sean.
and when I look at this so-called stimulus bill, this thing was a joke. I mean, this was an expression of contempt for the American people, as I see it. You're going to give them $600 of their own money and tell them that you did a good thing, and not understanding you're slapping most of these American people in the face in a time where most American people are suffering due to their irresponsible handling of this whole pandemic. It was the Congress and the Senate and these governors who closed almost many of these so called non essential businesses, put half the country out of work, and have most American families practically on the brink and then what they do as American families are on the brink when they're supposed to renew legislation to help them, what they do is go away for 3 months, let the problem get worse, and then want to come in after Joe Biden gets elected and then try to just buy themselves some time with a stimulus. But this stimulus is a complete expression of contempt for the American people and actually proves one of Donald Trump's points about what he calls the swamp in Washington, because we clearly see that these so-called politicians who are supposed to serve us are really serving themselves, because most of what's in that bill is just a whole bunch of pork barrel projects meant to serve their special interest friends. And everybody should be angry, because what does 50 million going to Pakistan for gender studies have to do with the American people, when you have American people who are practically on the brink of losing their home and everything that they worked for, because they're about to be evicted? And many American businesses, thanks to the service economy, are about to go out of business once and for all. I mean, I look at the way the American people have been screwed by our Congress, and they say that Donald Trump is supposed to be the great evil. But here we have the Congress showing us how evil they are by practically, one, abandoning the American people for months on end, and two, coming back here with some breadcrumbs, thinking that, oh, they'll be grateful for some breadcrumbs. But you created a situation where most of these people are out of work, and now most of these people have 9 months of back rent, 9 months of back bills, such as utilities and phone, and are practically struggling to make ends meet. And that's all due to the government and its policies. But the government here doesn't want to help the American people. No, the government wants to continue participating in a screw job on the federal level, and that's compounded by the constant lockdowns on the state level. So when I look at things, we have a clear disconnect as related to the way this government is serving the people. That, as I see it, going completely against the Constitution, because the Constitution says that these representatives are supposed to represent us and our interests. And it's clear they're not looking out for the best interests of the people by just, again, expressing this contempt for them, because you're giving people a paltry $600 when many people have rent in areas like here in New York. The rents start at $1,800, $1,900. $600 does nothing for rent here in New York and other parts of the country. And it doesn't even help with the bills that have been piling up. I mean, Americans' savings have been practically depleted by this. And I have to go with President Trump. And again, I'm not a Trump supporter, but yeah, this whole bill is garbage. It needs to be vetoed. We can do better for the American people. and we can do way better because we have these resources to give to these other countries. I mean, if we can spend 50 million on gender studies for Pakistan and millions on these musical institutions and other institutions, then we can spend a lot more
Right.
on our American people.
And the big thing, and Bernard, I'm gonna bring you in, but I want to play this video. Uh, I'm gonna play this video. Bernard, you got some background noise in the back. I don't know if you got.
Oh,
Oh, you got the TV on. Okay, what's going on, brother Bernard?
hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. You
I
say, of
wanted
course.
I wanted to
You,
touch on something that Shawn James was saying. I want to just read a couple of numbers though, before you
go
play the
ahead.
video.
All right, go
So
ahead.
domestic funding, the Kennedy Center gets 26,000. I mean 26 million $400. The Smithsonian a
I heard it
billion.
was more than that.
But I'm just reading what I got right here. 154 million to the National Art Gallery. National Art and Humanities 167 million, and the Wilson Center, W. Wilson Center, 14 million. That's just domestic. Now we're gonna go to
Hmm.
foreign countries. 1.3 billion for Egypt, 700 million for Sudan, 453 million for Ukraine, Israel, which is 500 million, but actually I've got another article that says $4 billion for Israel. They always give money to Israel. Realize that. Nepal 130 million, Burma 135 million, Cambodia 85, 500 million, 25 million in Pakistan for democracy and gender programs, and 1.4 billion to Asia, while the American people get $600. Actually, they were actually talking about giving illegal immigrants
Yes.
1,800, which is triple of what you would get.
Right, right. And that's what AOC is talking about, reparations. And wait a minute, they're not even American citizens.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Say what you want about Trump. I agree with him 1,000% on it. It needs to be vetoed because if you're giving it to other groups of people who don't even have a fucking right, excuse my language, I'm trying to be right. It is Christmas. But people that don't have a right to be in this country, that are not here legally, can try and give them money. You're giving money to these Kennedy Center, Kennedy Center, the Smithsonian. Keep in mind also, some of these places are not even open.
Yeah. And they've
That's
got
right.
stimulus before.
James said it. What's up, James Earl Mons? He said it. These places are not even open. If I'm not mistaken, also they've given money. Part of that it also includes relief to the movie theaters. Now, some of the movie theaters, of course, they have actually said they don't know if they can survive this, and they've asked Congress for money. So I can see, yeah, kind of giving them something, sort of relief, even though they've been limited on their seating and staff. Okay, I could see that. At least they're American. They're an American business. I can respect that. Giving this to Pakistan, no, I don't see that happening. I don't see that. That's not something that should even happen. But let's play the video uh, right now. This is a special message from Donald Trump, uh, President of the United States, as he's called 45. But let's listen.
Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment. $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa
Mm-hmm.
Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business. $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico,
Oh my
Chuck
God.
is this.
to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research
Oh
the
man.
impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800
There you
each.
go, Bernard.
This is far more
Mm-hmm.
Americans are given.
$1,800.
Despite all of this wasteful
Yep.
spending and much more,
And I can't get a single
the
dollar of
billion
stimulus
dollar
because I got
package
claimed as
provides
dependent on a
hardworking
tax return.
taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition.
Mm-hmm.
Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Oh wow. So he's talking about either running again or that he's gonna somehow win this election. I
Um,
guess.
well, you know something? Actually, with all the stuff going on, Gavin, he actually might. Just today in Wisconsin, a judge testified that 200,000 votes were not valid. The judge was named James Troopers, Judge Troopers. Um, Georgia is looking to possibly decertify votes, and look like they're gonna take it to
I
the House of
read
Representatives.
I heard about that.
And it's one other state. It's Arizona also tomorrow might do it. So they might do what they call a contingent election. In the states that are contested may not be counted, and that'll just give him the election just by the House of Representatives. And it's a lot of Republicans like Rand Paul. So I'm gonna give Rand Paul his credit because Rand Paul also backed Trump on this bill. So I'm gonna give Rand Paul his credit. And there's a few others that give credit. Even that Tommy Tuberville, that coach of Alabama. All it takes is one
Coach for
senator.
Auburn.
Auburn, that's fault.
It's all right.
All it takes is one senator and one congressman eject the votes that go into the House of Representatives. And as a matter of fact, actually, Trump actually will, believe it or not, gain more support by giving $2,000. So actually, a lot of people will,
Yeah.
he already
Well,
got support.
well, anytime
So
you give right, well, anytime you give him talk about giving more money, people are always interested in it because it's just like breads and circus. It's more than breads and circuses, but it's kind of because he just throws it out there. So when you throw money at giving people for free, people jump for it. But most definitely, I agree with him on this that the bill needs to be vetoed and it needs to be amended. I think James Earl Moan says the bill stinks of Joe and Kamala. Yeah, I mean some of the things he was talking about the far left things in the bill. I agree with. That's something that they plan to do the stuff that they are doing. Look at California, the bills that have been passed, these uh, bathroom bills that are being passed. If a man leaves his woman, he can go in a women's bathroom. You know, having the damn NBA. Remember a few years ago, they boycotted uh, Carolina, South Carolina over that.
North
I was it
Carolina.
North Carolina? Excuse me.
North Carolina.
But in California, they have bills that I know a few years ago they allowed boys to use the in San Francisco they have an ordinance where boys can use the girls' bathroom that they enacted about 2 years ago. I remember that, and they're doing it everywhere, and that's part of what's in there, and that's one of the reasons why we never got a COVID relief bill because. You know, the Democrats were adding a lot of stuff on. I know people like to blame Mitch McConnell and I don't like Mitch McConnell at all. Mitch McConnell is terrible. Uh, Mitch McConnell is not of course, he's the Senate Majority Whip, but you know, who's the Speaker of the House? Nancy Pelosi. So somebody was going. I think one of my friends was going back and forth with me over that about who's at fault, who's doing this, who does that. I'm like, well, they're all at fault, whether it's Democrat or Republican. They all negotiated this shit. And then to top it off, let me also let you guys know this because history has a way of repeating itself. So I want to break this all down for everybody tonight. Oh, we're going to get deep. Around this time, over 107 years ago, or is it 100? No, excuse me, 117 years ago, in 1913, uh, Congress, there was a bill on the floor of Congress. Oh, excuse me, I can't won't let me. There was a bill on the floor of Congress that helped create an entity. And this entity was called the Federal Reserve. Now, that was established on February 23rd, 1913. And the reason why it got established was because, well, of course, if you look at December 23rd, 1913, that was around the Christmas break. Am I right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so in the sphere of legislation, this is a quote says the whole thing was a wonderful demonstration of what Christmas can do in the sphere of legislation. Oh, we love Christmas. I love it too. But Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law, thus creating for the third time in the nation's history a national central bank. According to a Nation editorial that ran on the first day of 1914, a primary motive for getting the bill out of Congress and onto the president's desk, was the senator's desire to get home for Christmas. Now, we know that it goes further. This when the historian who leaves nothing out comes to write the full account of the passage of the currency bill, he will not omit reference to the influence of the Christmas spirit. Congress was as eager as a small boy to get off for the holidays, and there stood the cruel resolution of the Democratic majority not to adjourn until the Democrats until the bill was passed. This undoubtedly had the effect of hastening final action, and as such, it was rumored that Senator La Follette would insist upon speaking for 2 or 3 days. It was rumored, and one can imagine the apprehensive looks that were cast in his direction. But let his music die within him. I'm not going to read all of this, but this is from the Nation. You guys can look it up. But I think this article was written 7 years ago. So let's see. That was about I said 120. I'm seven. Excuse me. This was 107 years ago. I'm sorry. I don't know why my math was off. This was in December 23rd, 2015 article. So that just show. Now I put that there because that shows you all just how bad our Congress can be with these bills. They very rarely read or write these things. Well, of course, they don't write them. They have their attorneys that write them. Yes, I said Christmas. I'm not gonna lie. I love Christmas time. You know, but I'm not to blame everything on Christmas. Let's not blame Christmas. But you are put in office to do a job, and yet they did this. Now, history has a way of repeating itself when people fail to learn from its mistakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So 107 years ago, we had this John Conyers, who was the Democratic representative out of Michigan. He's actually one of the few congresspersons that I knew in the Congressional Black Caucus that actually tried to give tangibles to the Black community. He came up with the reparations bill, House Bill 80, if I'm not mistaken. I get my stuff mixed up, guys, but he's the one that came up with that bill, nonetheless, to try and help the African American to push the idea of reparations. And of course, sadly, he passed away, but he was forced out, at the end over some Me Too stuff. But I remember when he made a comment in John in Michael Moore's documentary Fahrenheit 9/11, where he said that we don't read all of the bills that come through Congress. You know how much time that would take? He actually said that. So that's just stuff that you deal with, and what we're fighting against.
Well, let me say something to that.
And that was HR 40, the reparations
Yeah,
bill.
he got 40. But let's say something about that. See, and that's the actual problem. Like I got a friend of mine, he could be on watching. He said, he's an ex-vet, and he said he read the whole Patriot Act. The whole Patriot Act is 300 and some pages long. He said that nobody, a lot of people don't, sit there and read this stuff. He said that you're not gonna probably sit and read all this stuff in one day. You might,
Right.
but so you 5,000 pages. You can imagine how long it takes you to read 5,000 pages. But they probably have certain people. But really, to tell you the truth, they probably didn't even pay attention. They just said, let's sign it because it got some. Now, Nancy Pelosi, if you go to Nancy Pelosi's Twitter page, now this is what I don't like about Nancy Pelosi. Well, I never liked her anyway. She's part of the Italian mob, let's just face it. But she tweeted out and she said, the American people been wanting $2,000. Let's do it. Let's make a deal. So now she's trying to jump like they were trying to do. Y'all won't trying to give out $2,000. But now she's trying to jump ship.
Yeah. Shawn, you got something to add?
Well, it sounds like Nancy Pelosi got caught with her own words. So, but when I look at this whole thing, it's really makes me shake my head. I mean, really, the whole stimulus thing was just a complete screw job, and the fact that Congress doesn't read its own laws is embarrassing. I mean, how can you pass a law without ever reading any of it? That's something that I would find to be quite troubling, because you could possibly just pass laws that could run counter to the entire United States Constitution. I mean, if I'm as a writer, I can't go out here and write a book without doing research, and I would expect, representatives who are representing me to actually go out here and do the same research I do for a book like The Man Crisis or Eternal Night, or a book like the Spinsterella trilogy. I do hard research to write these types of books, and I would expect your congressional representative to do that type of research. I mean, for them to sit there and say they're not doing research into these laws that they're writing, or even reading these laws to see that they meet the standard of the Constitution, that's a troubling thing for me.
Most
because
definitely.
If you're not reading the laws, you're going to pass legislation that possibly may be unconstitutional, or you may be passing legislation that just is absolutely ridiculous and absurd. And this whole package being filled with all of these ridiculous pieces of legislation just shows us how deeply disconnected our Congress is and how deeply dysfunctional our electoral, not only electoral, but our legislative process is.
Now
Because,
you can say the electoral too.
yeah, the whole thing is that the government is so disconnected from the people that it's serving itself,
Right.
and it's just turned into a complete mess because, again, you can't pass a law if you haven't read that law, and you can't support a law unless you know what's in the fine print of that law. I mean, it's ridiculous the way they did this stimulus because here you have a piece of legislation that's supposed to bring relief to American people, and it's embarrassing when your legislation that's supposed to help the people of America, and in a country where the first three letters of the Constitution are "We the people," we have it serving other countries and giving them and giving immigrants $1,800, and that's the thing that aggravates me because I didn't even get any of the stimulus of the first
Right.
CARES Act because I was claimed as a dependent on somebody else's tax return. I couldn't get a claim on that. And these politicians said back then that they were going to fix that by making sure that dependents who were claimed on tax returns, adult dependents, would be able to get stimulus this time around. So what happened to that? And that's a critical question I have to ask. What happened to that stimulus promise? I mean, that got thrown out the window because we see illegal immigrants can get stimulus, but American citizens who are claimed as dependents on other people's tax returns, they can't get any stimulus. And that's a complete slap in the face to American citizens. You want to give an immigrant $1,800, but you don't want to give any money to college students who are adult dependents or people like myself who are adult dependents.
Sean, Sean, excuse me 1 second. Bernard, you raising your hand like you got something, and I saw your cell
When I was
phone.
trying to, it was my phone was too bright. I was trying to read this
Okay,
this
well
yeah, go ahead.
let Sean
I was
finish his
trying to
point.
show it on the screen, but I'll wait till he finished because I'll read it out loud because the phone too bright.
Let Sean finish his point. I'm sorry,
But
Sean.
I just find it really disgusting that American people, I mean, there are people in the American citizens who can't get stimulus who could use that money, but you have them in the legislation giving these illegal immigrants this money and out here giving other countries that money over American people like college students and dependents who need that money in order to help take care of their families and take care of bills. And again, it just shows how our Congress is no longer serving us and how they are disconnected from us and they aren't serving the people. And the more they act like this, I mean, they waited almost 3 to 6 months to even get this legislation passed. And I guess they hoped they could slip this one by the goalie. Unfortunately, Donald Trump was there to practically put a stop to it. And the more Congress acts, the more Congress proves Donald Trump's point. And that's where everything just really is troubling because you say Donald Trump is the bad guy, but the more they act, the more they prove Donald Trump's points.
Let me say this. Somebody brought this up to me. A friend and I were talking earlier. We don't, from now on, if he's watching, and I don't think he is, he might be asleep, but we don't try and talk politics because people will get emotional, especially when we talk about Trump versus Biden, and I don't like Trump. But he did say something very interesting, how this may be a point where people will revolt. Like
Yeah,
we're already seeing people revolting over this election. This might be the icing on the cake. This this could be the straw that broke the camel's back right now, with Christmas coming around the corner and people are nearly being evicted out of their homes,
7
and
million.
yeah,
yeah, their businesses. And then on top of that, you think about this, like I said again, Congress on average gets paid $179,000 a year. That has not changed since 2009. If you adjust it in 2019 and you look at the stats, because I looked at it myself, it's over $200,000 adjusted. So you think about that, not to mention also the bonuses that they get, the lifetime health care that they get, and you're going to approve 600 measly dollars to the American people.
Yeah, that's a complete insult as I see it. And when I look at the whole situation, I mean, I talked about it in a live stream before. I called it "Is America?" I talked about it in a video called "America on the Brink," and I also talked about it in "Is America Becoming a Nation with Nothing to Lose?" And the whole thing is these disconnected congressional officials and these local politicians, they don't really understand how dire it is for the average American, and they don't understand how they've created a situation where most Americans are nearly on the brink and they're getting to the point where they're having nothing to lose. I mean, we saw just a tip of the iceberg with the George Floyd riots, but when they look at this country and these politicians just practically doing things like pushing these excessive restrictions, and then you want to close all these people's businesses in an effort to allegedly stop COVID-19, and then what you want to do is give them $600 in stimulus. People are seeing this as a slap in the face, and more and more people are becoming frustrated and angry. And when you have people pushed to their backs to the wall, they're getting to that point of nothing to lose, and we may possibly see more and more people resisting, and we might possibly see a revolt. And that's par for the course because, again, when you push people too far and they reach that point of nothing to lose, then they decide that the government isn't serving them, and it's time to take the government and replace it. And that's what Thomas Jefferson said, that if the government is not serving the people, they need to take it off and put on a new government. And when we look at America right now, the government isn't serving we the people because that stimulus bill, that was a complete slap in the face. And then we have these local politicians continuing to ratchet up these restrictions and practically keep people from being able to make a living. And you have people who are on edge because they're about to be evicted from their homes. And instead of trying to meet the needs of the American people, we have these politicians who are still caught up in their hatred of Donald Trump, that they're not thinking about taking care of the needs of we the people. And they let us sit out here for 3 months. And again, 3 to 6 months, I say.
Longer
And
than that, yeah.
that was just reprehensible to do this. And they were making these power plays because they wanted to make Joe Biden the savior, but it looks like all of that is blowing up in their face because they just didn't care about we the people. It was all about Donald Trump. And it goes back to a classic video I did called America's Trump Obsession. Most of these state, local, and even federal politicians have tunnel vision about Donald Trump. And because they've got tunnel vision, they can't see the damage they're doing to the American people because it's all about trying to hurt him, but they don't see how they're hurting the American people and how they're alienating the American people, proving his points and getting more and more people to think about revolting against these politicians because these politicians really aren't interested in serving we the people. They just are caught up in their bruised egos about losing to Donald Trump in 2016. It seems like they can't get over this at all. And they want to try to get revenge and make everybody pay for voting for Donald Trump.
Right. Most definitely. I saw some people say this. I fear this bill is pure. James Moe says this bill is pure fatback. I call it. I think it's an insult, Squeaky G, to call it the Chitterlings bill. I think this is the Dollar General bill. Uh, the Dollar General of bills, because that's all we're gonna be able to shop and afford. No disrespect to people that go shop there, because I've bought stuff there, but I know people go there because they're on a budget. They don't have means. But this is ridiculous. Computer Robot said, "What did I think of Canada and how the harder restrictions are with non-essential businesses?" I don't know too much about it. That story. Perhaps you could tell me,
I
Computer
can
Robot.
tell you something about it because I have a goth friend on YouTube,
Go
and she
ahead.
has a business, and she had to has a GoFundMe because she lost a lot of revenue and a lot of business
Oh
holidays and
wow.
stuff due to these lockdowns, and this is practically choking the life out of the businesses in Canada. I mean, Canada is practically being choked out, and I heard from another goth YouTuber who said that a business she used to go to just practically went out of business. And here in America, this is killing our local businesses. And what's happening is these politicians are so caught up in their ego and their feelings about Donald Trump, they don't even understand that our economic system is practically on the verge of collapse because 60% of American business are small businesses, and we get most of our tax revenue from those small businesses. So if they go out, the entire economy goes out, and they don't really understand that these not so-called non-essential businesses are the thing that actually pay their salaries and pay for services and things like hospitals, which are supposedly going to be the thing that combat COVID-19. Because if we don't have small business open to generate tax revenue, there is no money to be able to pay for your taxes for municipal services like roads and highways and your hospitals. So there's no money to pay for hospitals, and there's also nobody paying into health insurance to be able to pay for hospitals. So they don't really connect the dots because they're just so caught up in Donald Trump and trying to make Donald Trump the bad guy. But the more they talk, the more they prove his points. And they show that they have no connection to the American people and the American economy. They don't really care about how the economy works. Everybody, again, is obsessed with Donald Trump, and they're obsessed with trying to get Donald Trump. But the more they try to get Donald Trump, the more they hurt the American people, and they may possibly collapse America's economy all out of spite for one man. And that just really is sad because it just shows how, again, depraved these people on the left are, that they would practically destroy the country rather than admit that you're not doing your job, because your job, again, was supposed to serve the American people and help them get through a crisis.
Yeah, most definitely. So wow, so they have been real strict, obviously, like America, with these restrictions. Uh, that doesn't surprise me. I have some people. I got to talk to some cousins about that in Canada. But Computer Robot says, okay, so here in Ontario, Canada, our premier, who is a governor, uh, who is a governor of our province, has enforced stricter lockdowns twice over this year since November, and it looks like people are getting tired. Yeah, I can imagine so. Uh, I want to get into another topic, but Bernard, if you got something to add, I just ask if you please keep it to at least 2 minutes or
Yeah,
less.
yeah. I was just reading this tweet by Nancy Pelosi. She said Republicans repeatedly refused to say what amount the president wanted for direct chat. At last, the president has agreed to $2,000. Democrats are ready to bring this to the floor this week by unanimous consent. Let's do it. Now, that's what you call, I guess, trying to get your point across. But really, to tell you the truth, y'all
Mm-hmm.
agreed to that deal, so you won't worry about no $2,000. You're just trying to make it look, because that sounds better for your base. That's what that is. That's called grandstanding. That's what they're doing. Just like with all the police brutality nonsense and all that. That's just called general grandstanding.
Sure.
If she wants to say that, but Rand Paul, Trump, and like 5 other Republicans, and I think 1 or 2 Democrats, might have been Tulsi Gabbard, who really should be considered independent, and Bernie Sanders, he ain't really no independent because he always side with the Democrats. Tulsi Gabbard is kind of like off the mainstream, so But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't like when people play those type of games like they were really with it, but you really want down. That otherwise you wouldn't have put all this pork in that deal.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, man. It's crazy. Squeaky G had stated even in the bill they make, thanks to your Disney and Netflix lobbyists, he's saying that they make illegal streaming up to 10 years a felony, punishable uh, in federal
Yeah,
prison.
I saw that too.
Okay, wow. Yeah. Don't fuck with the House of Mouse on Netflix either. Uh, so let's see. All right, so I did get into the next topic. Oh, I need to do this while I'm doing the live stream. You all see the ticker at the bottom. Please donate to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, Gavin Richard Esquire, or Google Pay, gavin.grich1@gmail.com. Please donate to that. And also support these brothers. King BJ, he has his YouTube channel, King BJ. And Shawn
Yeah.
has his YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to his channel and also buy one of his books, like the John Haynes series or Eternal Night. Later on, guys, if you want, Bernard, you can put your Cash App in on your Cash App in your name tags if you want, so everybody can contribute. So I want to talk about this topic too, since we're talking about Biden, we're talking about we're still in politics, and I want to go into something in a second, so I won't be brief. But this is no surprise. Hunter Biden has been under investigation recently. It said he was under investigation even before the presidential election. I don't know if you all are. I know, Bernard, you're familiar with it. Shawn, I don't know if you're so much familiar with it, but of course, there have been allegations because Judge Joe Brown, who has been on it, he's talked about how Biden's son has been tied with foreign investors and businesses. And it says here, this is the Wall Street Journal, that Hunter Biden ramped up business activities with European and Chinese tycoons as his father exited the vice presidency 4 years ago. For him, it was a potential path to income. For the tycoons, the Biden family name promised to burnish their reputations. The dealings got the younger Biden, Mr. Biden, a discounted stake in a private equity firm in China and consulting arrangements with a Romanian property magnate. And overall, oh, excuse me. Yeah, y'all can see everything. I'm sorry about that. I had a phone call. Yeah. So as y'all can read, um, they've been investigating him on how those arrangements now loom over President-elect Joe Biden. A federal criminal tax investigation into Hunter Biden's business dealings is underway with but findings potentially trickling out in coming months. His business ties to well-connected people in China and other places could add to scrutiny of foreign policy decisions taken by the Biden administration over possible conflicts of interest, all are likely to provide ammunition to Republicans. Uh, so, sorry. Give me one. Yeah. So, guys, and Bernard, you've heard of this because Judge talks about it a lot, and we know
Yeah,
that Hunter
I mean,
Biden.
I mean, people on top of it. Yeah. Hmm.
I remember when he got discharged from the Navy. Was it the from the Navy?
Yeah.
Uh, regards to drug abuse, and I mean, that really. Let's be honest with it, though. All powerful families use their influence to get something out of it. Uh, Trump has done it, and of course, Uh, I'm sure Biden has done it. I know Obama has done it. Of course, Obama's a little bit smoother with his stuff, and of course, people are caught up into that. But of course, they don't. A lot of people don't want to talk about Obama because he's not. He's the golden goose. You don't talk about him because he's the first black president, and Michelle looked nice in a dress. That's what a lot of people focus on, the symbolic nature of it. And you know, not getting into that because this is about the Hunter Biden situation. So I'm not pointing it at anybody else, but I noticed that had all of this stuff come out during the election, would it have impacted the results and so forth? Although it was coming out slowly but surely, but the media, for the large part, ignored it. But this is the Wall Street Journal, who, they have a little more credit. They have credibility for a lot of people, and of course, I don't think that this will result, just my thinking, since Biden is likely to become president of the United States, I don't think this may result in any criminal charges of that nature. Or I could be wrong, but it does raise issues about the Biden family and conflict of interest. Dr. Boyce Watkins said that Hunter Biden is kind of like the white cousin Pookie that you got to keep away because he'll fuck up your business. Um, he's you know He's like a white crack. He's got drug problems. He's very sloppy with his work, with his stuff. That's what a lot of people say. But what do you think about this, Shawn? If you got an opinion, then Bernard, I'll hand it off to you.
Well, it looks like Hunter Biden might be a liability, similar to what happened in the early days of the Clinton presidency with that whole Whitewater scandal. And it looked like if this investigation goes any further, we might have a scandal similar to what happened with Bill and Hillary Clinton in Whitewater. So your Joe Biden's son, Hunter, every day, like you said, he's becoming looking more and more like a Pookie, and he's looking more and more like a liability. And if this scandal gets a further investigation, they start finding these allegations turn into evidence, this might possibly be the thing that derails the entire Biden presidency, because back in the 90s, it was all of those scandals that derailed the Clinton presidency and led to the Republican Revolution in 1994. So this is a very, very bad sign, because if you can't have your stuff together, again, you're saying Donald Trump is so evil, but we have a guy who's a Pookie over here. He may practically undermine
White
everything.
Pookie.
Yeah, white Pookie. He might undermine everything and lead to another revolution, which I see coming. I see this Republican revolution getting ready to start because of the mishandling of these COVID with all these restrictions, and many of these just governors going crazy. And I see a lot of state houses possibly being lost and a lot of House and Senate seats being lost because the Democrats really did not gain much this year. Republicans got more seats in the House, and this may further lead to them losing more seats, because if you've got white Pookie and he's been caught in his hand in a cookie jar, this may practically, again, derail the Biden presidency the same way the Clinton presidency was derailed back in after he got inaugurated.
All right, Bernard.
Yeah, it's mighty funny you brought this up, because yesterday morning when I woke up, I was on this website. It's called Before It's News, and it was a Chinese guy, but you had to look at it. But he was talking in Chinese, but they had the translation for it. He basically was saying that Biden already finished, and they basically told Biden, "You better be straight by January 6th, because we gave you 1.5. You gave your son money, and we gave you money." So I mean, it's pretty much they tried to censor the story. I mean, I think a lot of people don't know Trump passed an executive order last week with in bars leaving, and he appointed this guy named Durham. Trump did it
Right.
to
He's the
check on.
interim. Right.
Yeah, he's doing the probe. And as a matter of fact, I just put it out, and now Durham has the authority under Trump to investigate Crossfire Hurricane. And sometimes some of these back channels that Trump has a lot of special forces working. So the special force guys come on and tell what they're gonna do. They're telling like what's going on behind the scenes. But these guys, the guy came out. And matter of fact, it was on the Alex Jones show. Come to think about it, it was a guy named Dr. Steve Pachinik, and he said all this stuff was gonna pop up back around this time. He said that Bauer was gonna leave. He was gonna step down because they found out Bauer was kind of being an obstructionist. So all this information is coming out. If you go to gnews.org, they also had tapes of Hunter Biden with a meth pipe, and there was a woman on there that looked like one of Obama's daughters naked in the in the video. So a lot of stuff.
I've seen. Well, you bringing up Obama's daughter. There was a picture on Instagram. I don't know if it was confirmed for her, but this girl that looked like one of the girls that was scantily clad with some men surrounding her. You know the one I'm talking about. She's wearing scanty clothes and she's got her makeup on. She looks she looked hoed out, to say the least. Not calling the girl a hoe. That's not what I'm saying, because I don't want the PC crowd coming at me thinking I'm insulting the daughter. I'm not. But I mean, that's how it looked. That's the image of the picture that they had of her. I don't know, and Someone said it looks like her. James Earl Moan said it looked like her. And Tariq Nasheed was talking about it because it looked like they were, I think, and this was sometime last week, and I can't remember exactly what was going on, but they've been gearing up for this new election that's coming up in Georgia, obviously the Senate race, which is huge, between Kelly LaBouffe and Ralph Warnock. Uh, Dr. Randy Short does not like Warnock at all. A lot of people, stuff I've heard. And Hunter Biden, of course, something interesting about him. Remember when Joe Biden's other son, the son that was actually a hero in the military, Beau Biden, suffered from brain cancer and died. Well, Hunter Biden was messing with his widow while he was married.
Wow, that's twisted.
Yeah, he was messing with her, and supposedly because T West talked about it, and I don't want to deal with something that's not true. But it had been rumored that supposedly he was even did something with the girl, the daughter that was there. I don't know if that's true or not. T West had talked about it, so I'm only talking about it because T West had mentioned it. But I was disturbed when I heard something like that. But you can go on his Wikipedia page, Hunter Biden, and look it up. He was at that time seeing his sister-in-law, his brother's widow. So, I mean, he's kind of the black sheep of the family, I guess, if you want to call it that, the one nobody likes to bring around at the cookout. But that's the type of stuff you're dealing with. Hey, that's what we got coming in office. That's the first family. That's the first son. Uh Supposedly. So the way that this is going right now, of course, Biden is, I'm sure if he gets in office, he will call the dogs off on this because this would be embarrassing to not only him, but to his entire family with this thing. But I mean, it had been floating around for a while. Somebody said, you can't leave nothing around a crackhead. James Ramon said that. He's like a meth head, yeah. But yeah, a crackhead. As a teenager living in the White House, you're going to walk into rooms that you have no business. One cannot unsee those things. That's very true. But he's not a teenager. This is an adult. This is an adult making mistakes like this. So next thing I want to talk about. So I didn't want to focus too much on Hunter Biden because I want to get into some other topics. Uh, of course, there is new body camera footage in the Ahmaud Arbery shooting. Body camera footage that was released this past week, and it sheds some new light on the case, and it makes things seem even worse than what they were. I'm going to play for you all the clip that was released. This is courtesy of, I'm trying to see which, this is courtesy of J at News4JAX, and you guys check this out, and we'll have some comments a little bit later.
Now, body camera video showing investigators questioning the three men accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. That video was released this week.
I hear it.
The man who filmed Arbery being shot and killed, William Roddy Bryan, admits he tried to block Arbery several times to keep him from getting away. News4JAX I-Team investigator Kelly Wiley has more of that video.
Travis gets out with the shotgun and runs up there.
Newly released body camera footage shows police interviewing Travis and Greg McMichael and William Roddy Bryan after Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed. In the videos, Roddy Bryan told officers he helped block Arbery from getting away multiple times, seemingly conflicting what his attorney told reporters back in May.
I pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block him, but he was going all around it, and I made a few moves at him, and he didn't stop, Should we have been chasing him? I don't know.
Computer-aided dispatch reports show the McMichaels, armed with guns, chased Arbery for at least 4 minutes in their truck before Travis McMichael jumped out to confront Ahmaud Arbery. Both men say they believed Arbery was seen on surveillance video entering the open construction site on nights before.
I said, Travis, go back that way. Storm will go head him off. So sure enough, he comes around. We come back down here, and he's right here. And he starts running past us. And Travis backs up and says, hey, stop. We want to talk to him. Or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact words that was said. By this time, I'm in the back of the truck. So the guy, he's looking dead at us, he's like, from me to you. And he turns and he runs. Travis gets out with the shotgun and runs up there. And, I said, Travis, don't shoot. Don't do anything. The guy turns and comes at him. And they start wrestling, and Travis shoots him around the chest.
So we run out to stop him, to talk to him. Mm-hmm. He took off running. Came over here, stopped. He come out of the truck running at us. I told him stop till he hit me. I had nothing to do.
The body camera video from the shooting also shows several interactions between Greg McMichael, a retired district attorney investigator, and Glenn County officers investigating the shooting.
Hey, Greg.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. You're doing this. I do know Greg.
How you doing? I knew I would take him down.
Yeah, he's going to have to be interviewed.
Yeah. Y'all don't put him in cuffs, are you?
No. Why would you be in cuffs?
Well, I can't see up through that.
No, he's in the ambulance right now. They're cleaning some of the blood off.
I got you.
Kelly Wiley, Channel 4, the local station.
Earlier this month, a judge denied bond for Travis and Greg McMichael. As of last week, the father and son's defense teams are trying to appeal the judge's decision.
Now, okay, so y'all heard that. Now, notice one of the things that they said was that they wiped the blood. They brought in Travis McMichael into the back of the ambulance to wipe the blood off of him, but they didn't put him in cuffs after he shot Ahmaud Arbery. Another thing that was important in that body camera footage that you notice is that the father even said himself, he told his son, no, don't get out with the fucking shotgun. Those were his words, right? Y'all all heard it?
Yep.
Don't shoot him. Y'all all heard it. You heard it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then on top of that, the guy who tried to make it look like he was just the innocent bystander, you all saw him being questioned by the police officer, and he admits that he tried to block the man in, that he wasn't innocently following Ahmaud Arbery, that he tried to boxing him a couple of times. Am I right?
Yeah.
Did we all hear that?
Yep.
So, and say what you want about the footage. Of course, it is not the entire film footage that's in there. And by that, I mean it's more, that was an edited version, obviously, because they had to air it live on the 10 o'clock evening news. But it was clear what Travis McMichael was trying to do just from looking at that footage. As a general rule, yes, I believe all people are innocent until proven guilty, but Ahmaud Arbery, when the guns were pointed at him, when that gun was pointed, he had every right to defend himself. These are not police officers. And you saw how casually Gregory McMichael is talking with the deputies. You saw how they came up to him. Hey, Greg, how are you?
Yeah.
No look of concern. No, man, what the hell happened? No excitement. Just another day.
And on just acting like this man's life meant nothing to them.
And my understanding is that they did not even have to rent, they didn't even perform aid on Ahmaud. Not that it would have mattered because he was, I'm assuming he died right there at the scene. He was dead on arrival.
Yeah.
But yeah, his own father told on him. Squeaky G, that's right. So what do you think, Bernard?
I think it's a travesty, but the blood and stuff kind of proves it. I don't understand. Well, I do understand why they appealed it, but I just,
that they're appealing the judge's decision to deny bond.
We sit back and allow this stuff. Like I said, the guys really should be in jail. But really, to tell you the truth, all jokes aside, Ahmaud, Arbery, daddy, some men should have went and got some payback. Like they came down there with that black gun club that time. They should have got some payback on them guys for that. I mean, and now we see the tape of blocking them in more than once. Come on now. they didn't show all that at first, you see. But I also don't like when they don't show the whole tape at one time either. See, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well,
That's
they
the
had.
issue.
Well, if you go to Court TV's YouTube page, I think they have a roughly 14-minute version of it, or they talk about it for at least 14 minutes. I haven't seen an entire unedited footage of it, but of course, everything gets spliced up when it's reported on the news because they have to allow and edit for time and content. Uh, I did see a few months ago when the lead investigator for the Georgia Bureau of Investigations essentially stated that McMichael called him, talking about Travis McMichael, said, "I killed that effing nigger." Uh, he testified to that. Supposedly there are racist text messages and emails. I did a video about the damn daughter to the McMichael because she posted a meme of some sorts with Ahmaud Arbery's body. These are devils. She's a devil.
Well,
And
that's
runs
right.
in the family.
Yep.
It runs in
And
the family. And these are not cops. Let's keep in mind, they are not police officers. If you thought somebody was stealing something or breaking into another apartment or house, then you call the police. Like I tell students, like I tell my friends and family, we'll deal with the court system when we deal with it. That's one thing. You going around there thinking you can chase somebody around like you're Charles Bronson.
and that shouldn't be. I mean, when in these cases, if you see something, you're supposed to call law enforcement, not take it into your own hands. But when I look at this case, it's malice of forethought. From the way they're talking, it clearly shows malice of forethought as related to Ahmaud Arbery. And they wanted to kill him to send a message, which was to send to other black people, if you come into our neighborhood, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah. I've heard Squeaky G said he lived out there. He lived out there in
What they
Brunswick
call that
for
thing? What they call that thing? A citizen's arrest or something?
a citizen's arrest, but
That
but
doesn't
a
apply
citizen's
here.
arrest didn't apply here because in Georgia, in order to initiate a citizen's arrest, you have to have had witnessed the commission of a crime. They
Yeah.
did not know. What they stated was he fit the description of previous break-ins and burglaries. Well, that is not them witnessing a crime. They didn't know for a fact that he had committed any of those crimes, or even if he had committed this crime. They had video footage released, remember, that came out earlier this year, where you had several people going into that abandoned, well, it wasn't abandoned, but into that construction site where they were observing the house that was being built, the construction, to see if, how it looked and so forth. He did not take anything from out of that construction site. The owner of the site even said he didn't do it and really didn't want to get involved because he felt bad about what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. And I think uh, that was also an issue probably with with trying to be politically correct and trying to be friendly because at that time, if you said anything negative, and it was as a result of it in this era of quote unquote Black Lives Matter. Regardless of who's running Black Lives Matter, we know it's a front, but still, I think he wanted to not be on the wrong side of things at that moment. But he could have legitimately been upset about what happened. Nevertheless, this was when you say malice or forethought, they didn't look like they were hurt. They didn't look like they were saddened by Mr. Arbery's death. Uh, you hit the nail on your head when you said malice or forethought. This was cold-blooded murder. I'll take it a step further. I believe that. Granted, they have not gone to trial and they're entitled to um, due process like every other person that's accused. But I mean, man, it's on video footage. The footage speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Unless you can tell me that was a stand-in and it was edited, I don't know how his attorneys will try and defend it as best as they could, which is what their job is.
But they can take this tape and practically play because it's police body cam footage, and it practically condemns them. So this is the more
Depending
they
on what jury you got. Too.
Yeah.
Rodney King. If you get Rodney King's jury, then they'll walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. It's crazy. Just a lot of BS. Black men in America. Last thing I wanted to talk about is something that I saw in. This is up your alley, Shawn. We had talked about this earlier before we came on. Excuse me. I wanted to know what your opinion was because you're up there in New York, and I know Rosie Perez is from the New York area. I remember her as the choreographer for the Fly Girls on In Living Color, and she was in movies like White Man Can't Jump. She was in Pineapple Express. She was in the last Birds of Prey movie with the base with Harley Quinn. I wanted to know what your thoughts are about this because she accused. It almost seemed like she was trying to accuse Spike Lee of a Me Too charge, get him on a Me Too charge, at least. She did an interview with Fat Joe. Excuse me. Oh, why is this thing? Yeah, she did an interview with Fat Joe and basically said how she was uncomfortable with doing Do the Right Thing. And of course, Do the Right Thing, I believe, was Rosie Perez's breakout uh role back in that was in 1989, if I'm not mistaken. So
It
Rosie
was
Perez,
89.
yeah,
I was
Rosie Perez was 25 years old around that time because I would say she's in her mid 50s right now.
Yeah.
And back in the day, she was a fine. I mean, she's still an attractive woman, but of course, and back in the day, she was real hot. But she got started basically hanging out with uh on Soul Train. She was a Soul Train dancer in the 80s. Like I said, being a dancer and choreographer on In Living Color, all the stuff that's come out now, and now she's bringing this up against Spike Lee. And I wanted to know your thoughts on it because it seems like BS, and especially when you look at the movies that she's done in the past, where she's done even worse scenes than I think she's referring to the Ice Cube scene.
Yeah. But when I listen to her allegation, it's just I don't see it as something that's substantiated because I mean, if this was the case that this happened, why didn't she go out here and contact the police back then? I mean, Spike Lee was not a big wheel back then, similar to the way Bill Cosby was not a big wheel. And Rosie Perez could have easily torpedoed Spike's career before it even started, the same way Desiree Washington practically destroyed Mike Tyson's career. I mean, if this was a valid claim, I would think that your Rosie Perez would have actually come out with this allegation back then, almost 30 years ago. I mean, she would have come out with it back then, and she wouldn't be talking about it right now. So when I listen to this story, I get the same vibe I get from many of these other women who are a part of the Me Too movement, an effort to try to revise history, because if you don't have a police report to substantiate what you're saying, then we have to look at what you're saying and see it as not credible. I mean, for you to sit here and wait 30 years to make this kind of claim when you could have easily filed a police report and gotten a rape kit back in 1989 and practically put this man in jail, that really shows that this claim that she's making really isn't substantiated as I see it. Because again, she easily could have torpedoed Spike's career back then, but she just didn't do it because there's no validity to the claim. When I listen to her claim, it sounds like she's trying to revise history to try to make it herself into a victim because she doesn't want to admit she was a part of the casting couch. And she went out here on the casting couch to probably get this role on Do the Right Thing. And now she probably wants to try to make herself out to be the good guy in this picture, when in actuality she participated in some ratchet behavior she doesn't want to actually confront and acknowledge that she's done.
Right. She got paid for doing the Ice Cube scene. Yeah, and look, shit. I've seen movies where she let man, fuck, she let Woody Harrelson hit it from the back in White Men Can't Jump. She was full front noodle. That was full frontal nudity in those scenes. Never complained about it.
And he fell out laughing. And
I'm gonna play the clip because I want everybody to
hear.
hear.
And he said, "Oh my God!" And I just went to walk away. And he wait. And I was like,
I don't know if I'll get hit with a copyright claim for
and
playing
my
this.
girlfriend, Marion Wade, my college buddy, was with me, and she kept poking me. She goes, "Do you know who that is?" I go, "Oh." And she's like, "That's Spike Lee." I go, "So?" And he said, "Please, here's my card. I want you to call me because I want you to be in a movie. And I think you could be a really great." I said, "I'm not an actress." He goes, "Oh, yes, you are." I said, "No, I'm not." He says, "Remember this night. Tonight is fate. Remember this night." Gave me the card. I walk out of the club and I went to throw it in the garbage. And it missed the garbage. And my girlfriend Marion dove after the card and says, "Are you crazy?" And so she took the card and she called him the next morning. He says, "I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the girl, the Puerto Rican girl." And he said, he said he wants to talk to the Puerto Rican girl. I said, "How do you know I'm Puerto Rican?" She went, "Really?" and that's how it happened. You know, I still had to audition. People think he just gave me that role. He didn't just give it to me. I had to audition with Robbie Reed, and she called him and said, "This is the one. This is the one." And my life was forever changed.
That was it. That your life changed,
Yeah.
right? And what's so unique about that movie is there's so much racial tension in that movie, but it shined a light on how the Boricuas, the Puerto Ricans, and the Black people walk together, and how we in the same community together. Like so other people outside of New York probably looked at that like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Right? But in New York, it happens every day. What was that like when you had these sexy scenes? You went from not being an actress to sexy scenes. You know?
Seriously. I mean,
all right, y'all pay attention.
On Soul Train, when I first got on Soul Train, I didn't even have sex yet. How about that? Like, I was so naive.
That's a joke for a moment. Continue. No sex, Soul Train. No guy from Shalimar. No Jeffrey Daniels from Shalimar.
Shout out to Prophet Muscle for this video because he broke it down. Just this clip, it's got over 262,000 views.
Oh my
I'm just
goodness.
interrupting it because I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit with nothing.
See, this is why I was like, I'm too nervous. I'm gonna be too comfortable talking to you, and things are gonna come out. Okay, so anyway.
No. You see, we celebrate our icons and our legends. We don't jam nobody up. This is all love.
Okay.
This is called giving your roses while we here, enjoying it, giving these people going through a real tough time now, Rosie. We're making them happy right now, talking to them on this show. So you went from not acting to doing sex scenes in Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was terrifying. It was terrifying. And the reason why you don't see my face with the infamous Ice Cube scene, because I started crying. And Spike hates when I tell the story, but I started crying because I started to feel exploited. I didn't feel that it was artistic. I was like, "Yo, this motherfucker's getting off on me. This ain't cute. This no, because I didn't
Whoa.
realize it was gonna go down that way." And
This motherfucker's trying to get
and
off
it
on
was
me.
Ernest Dickerson. He was the DP at the time. He's a film director now. He directed Juice, by the way. He was the DP, and Darnell Martin was the camera operator, and he told Darnell to stop filming, and he shut it off. And Spike got really angry, and he said, "Spike, this is wrong. This is wrong." And so that's why we went to the knees. And
Yeah, but that
But
was
he-
a legendary scene, Rosie. Like, you know, that we could talk about the shit 30 years later, and that's the scene. That's like, now you realize it was artistic, right? Holy shit. Okay.
Oh my God.
We can do the right thing and move on from this.
Oh, she's laughing.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right, yeah, I think they got retained by yeah. So I don't want to keep look at this further, but y'all heard it. Obviously, she kind of hinted at that.
Yeah.
But you're an actress, so how you don't know what is artistic and what's not? Like James Earl Malone says. You said you weren't an actress, so how do you know what is artistic?
And didn't she read the script and see that that was there? And
I'm sure she had to.
Because usually they give you the complete script, and they usually give you the script the day of a shoot. Usually, when they actually give you your papers to come back the next day, usually the director has briefed you on what's going to happen in that scene. So when I listen to her make these allegations, they sound like, again, an attempt to revise history, because when I know how productions work, and usually your director is going to let you know either the day before or the day of the shoot what's going to happen and what's going to go on. And even in the casting, they let you know that, look, this role has nudity involved in it. You're going to have to do a nude scene. She was pretty much briefed, I believe, months before this production even started. And for her to say that she felt exploited, that's complete nonsense, because anybody who knows film production knows that usually, and when an actress, even in the casting, is usually told what is going to be in the script from day one, and they're told, okay, there's going to be a nude scene here. Are you comfortable with nudity? Casting director is going to ask you these kind of questions. What we see here is her trying to revise history to make herself out to be some sort of innocent girl, but she's not innocent at all. She's not innocent. She went along with this because she thought this was going to elevate her career, because she wasn't only on Soul Train, and then she got to do the right thing, and then that led to, I think she was doing choreography for In Living Color. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah.
This was a step up for her career, and she thought nothing of it, because that's what you got to understand how a lot of actresses are. They're very ambitious, and they'll do stuff under the table, and then they'll try to come out and try to say that oh, it was the other guy's fault. It's like, no, you knew what this was, and you went along with it because you wanted to get ahead. And now that you're older, now you want to try to make yourself look like a saint, but you were a sinner back then, and probably were doing a lot of other things to get these parts, because I know how these actresses get down.
Bernard?
Just another Me Too charade, man. Look like to me, man, trying to, I guess I wouldn't say calling the pot the kettle black, but I say trying to seem like Shawn James said, a saint. But hey, if you call it a sinner, I mean, it is what it is. We all know about Hollywood and the casting couch. She just part of the script. I mean, she knew the script. Me too.
Right.
I mean, it's feminist propaganda.
Right. Well, I think Rosie is trying to stay relevant, like a lot of the women who accuse Cosby, like Janice Dickerson and your Beverly Johnson. They try, Beverly Johnson was actually writing a book when she made her accusations against Cosby. A lot of people haven't put that together, but and oddly enough, Whoopi Goldberg was even questioning her about what happened and so forth. If you remember, Whoopi was defending Bill at first. If you go back and look at those interviews on The View. And of course, I mentioned The View because Rosie Perez used to be on The View. She was a co-host or co-hostess of that program. But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking at Rosie side eye with that. Like, what? I mean, she was laughing. She didn't look like she was traumatized about it at all. It sounded like she was, was she being funny with it? Maybe, but I mean, I just bringing this up during this time is very, uh, it's not, I wouldn't say nerve wracking, but bringing it up is likely to provoke emotions. And,
Yeah.
Spike Lee, like I said, he very well could be next on the menu because
Yeah.
he's producing that movie with Nate Parker. We see how they're coming at Nate Parker uh, with the stuff, his film, American Skin, that actually looks pretty good. I can't wait to see it when it comes out. I believe this January. They've already tried to denounce that movie, and the movie hadn't even gotten a worldwide release just yet. You also have, uh, but I find it funny because remember, Spike Lee for the last few months has been talking greasy about Bill Cosby. Remember about how he stole school days, Sean? We did a show about this.
Yeah, we did an entire show about
We did
that.
an entire show about that, and now you see how he's being accused of something. Although I don't think it is caught on yet. I wouldn't say. I don't know if Rosie. Do you think Rosie was being funny, or you think she was being serious? Because she was being playful from what I've seen. Or do you think she was just throwing that out there, hoping it would stick?
I think she was throwing that out there to see if it would stick, and because the whole thing is with these women with these Me Too allegations, they want to try to find a way to throw shade at black men, and they want to make black men to be the black brute and the boogeyman on these as related to these allegations. And this is just another attempt to make another black man into a boogeyman. And I look at this whole case, and it's in some ways it's karma for Spike Lee because he took those shots at Bill Cosby, but it's also just showing us how two-faced people are in Hollywood. And the whole thing with Hollywood is if you go against their narrative, they'll try to find a way to bring you down. So in some ways, they're trying to bring Spike down because he's working with Nate Parker. Because I find it interesting that your Rosie Perez comes out with this allegation all of a sudden after over 30 years, and it only comes out conveniently right after he announces he's produced Nate Parker's new movie, American Skin. So I look at it as a way to try to send a message to Spike that if he goes against the narrative of Hollywood, they can easily take him down, and they're trying to find ways to take him down. So I look at the big picture, and it's like Spike really he's getting karma in some ways for what he did to Bill Cosby, but it just shows us how insidious Hollywood is as related to black people and black celebrities, and how the white slave masters can easily pull the chain on them at any time.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. And that's why we need our own independent Hollywood. You had it done in the 1920s and 30s with Oscar Micheaux. He was a black man that wrote his own screenplays and directed his own films. Before Tyler Perry, before Spike Lee, and before uh, David E. Talbert and other black filmmakers, even before who's a prominent black filmmaker I can think of, uh, Gordon Parks and Ozzie Davis and Melvin Van Peebles. He was making groundbreaking films. He's often forgotten in history, but he is not forgotten here, especially in the likes of New Black Media. Shout out to you, Brother Ron Hurd. I see you're all watching, Brother Ron. Merry Christmas to you and your family as well, brother. I appreciate you. I invited him to come on. We All Be TV, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Uh, yeah, shout out to him. And we got to have him come on because I love to do a live stream with him and Sean because he's a fan of your work too, Sean. He likes watching your stuff.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
That's nice
yeah,
to know.
yeah. And I was hoping because I see he can respond. And Ron, what happened with you and Nicole? Because I thought y'all were doing a live stream together. I was looking forward to seeing that. Uh, you got to do it in the Cole's view with us, Ron, and we'll do another live stream with him and a live stream with you guys. I will let you all put your cash apps in, and please donate to my cash app, Gavin Richard Esquire. Tell everybody about your latest projects that are coming up. Bernard, I'll let you go first, then Shawn.
Well, like I said, I mean, we're just trying to waiting on New Year to start, and then I'll be able to get some vacation stuff set up, and I don't know, maybe the project could involve a trip to New Orleans, hopefully.
What project is that?
Coming in, coming to explore the city of New Orleans and meet the black people in New Orleans. I try to meet people everywhere. Every content creator I come across, I try to meet somebody or another. Show me your city. What is it? What's the state of the people?
All right, most definitely. Well, we're gonna make that happen probably after when the new year kicks in, man. Is it cold up there in Virginia right now?
Today are 50 degrees. I mean, I don't think the cold to me is like under freezing, man. I mean, I go run outside. I mean, it's probably like 50 degrees. It was kind of warm yesterday for the first day. Well, about 52 degrees yesterday, first day of winter. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was looking at the planets aligned yesterday, Jupiter, and they were looking at the winter
Jupiter
solar.
and Saturn.
Yeah, they were looking at that yesterday. So,
That's
but
a
yeah,
chart, yeah.
it's been pretty moderate this week.
Yeah, it's in Louisiana we have a dry cold when it comes. If it's cold, it's usually there's no snow or nothing like that, but it's just dry. So we got it's about I think it's supposed to be in the 40s or so, which may not be that cold, that's chilly. But by Christmas tomorrow, there's supposed to be another front coming in. So Christmas Eve, it's supposed to get real cold. So Christmas Eve and Christmas Day,
Does it
uh,
snow there?
it does not snow. No, no snow white Christmas. But we've had them before. Well, at least once. I remember, which was right year before Katrina. I recorded it too. So that was a beauty. Yeah. Well, I'm sure there may be snow headed to Shawn's direction, or is there up there in New York, Shawn?
Well, they say it might be sleet and rain, so it's going to be really a wet Christmas here in New York. Not a white one. We had the snow last week, but it's going to be a wet one this week. So it's really going to be rough. So
Do 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 dup 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 do 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 dup 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 dup. I'm dup dup dreaming dup of a wet dup dup Christmas. I'm sorry. I was watching Home Alone the other day. Uh yeah, classic. Let's see. So Shawn, why don't you plug in some of your books, man? I know you got Eternal Night
yeah,
and working on some other stuff.
I've got some books that I'm doing this year. I mean, I've got the books of the 2020 catalog, starting with ISIS, the main event, which is available on Amazon right now in paperback and Kindle format. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read this one for free. I have John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, which is available on Amazon, Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play in paperback and also digital formats. And the recently released best-selling Eternal Night, which is now available in paperback right now and available on Kindle Unlimited. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. And I also have E-Steam Blast from the Past, which is a follow-up to E-Steam The Sands of Time. And this one features a bonus E-Steam comic in the back. So all of these books are available on Amazon.com right now in paperback and Kindle format. They're also available on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And they make great holiday gifts for any of your family members and your friends. So they're great gifts to give to your family. You can also give away digital ones as gifts. And I'm also going to be offering on December 26th several books on the SJS Direct imprint for free on Kindle of the ISIS series. So you can pick up some of those books on the ISIS series on Kindle for free on December 26th.
All right, y'all heard it from the man, Shawn James. Y'all pick up those books, such as the ISIS series, as well as the John Haynes series and Eternal Night. and Brother Bernard, you all can check out his YouTube channel, King BJ Johnson, his Cash App 1919BJ, and his Facebook Bernard Johnson. I will put that in the comment section right here so y'all can support this brother. We were out here heavy tonight, man. A lot of people appreciated what we're doing. I'm thankful for that y'all were able to come on. We're gonna try and get brother. We gotta try and get Kulik to come on. I invited him, but I guess he couldn't pull through. But he's great to have, and it'd probably be great to talk to you, Shawn, as well. Yeah, and I gotta get your book, a couple of your books, so I might get a stocking stuffer or two. I gotta finish reading The Man Crisis, but I'm busy with my own stuff, man. The law is a jealous mistress, as they say, and I'm still working on my other projects. But big things are coming for 2021. Believe me, I'm not sitting on my ass, not doing anything. I'm working hard. I'm hustling. I'm working on music. I'm working on a new book. I'm working on what the hell else I'm working on? A lot of other stuff. My seasoning, my spice, that's coming real soon. It's just it's taking a little time, but it is coming. I'm not gonna sit down and let life pass me by. There are things you can get. It's possible, ladies and gentlemen. You got to go out there and do it. Don't let the white man tell you you can't do something, and damn sure don't let your friends who are not doing anything with their lives tell you you can't go make it, because it'll be your best friends and sometimes even your family that try to hold you back. Am I right?
Yeah.
I got. Hey, Shawn, let me say one thing to you. Yeah, I did enjoy your podcast. You were talking about beta males about a week and a half ago, so that was good. We got a lot of beta men around here, so it's good that you brought it up on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I try to teach about beta males because they have a lot of dysfunction, and the more you learn about it, the faster you can do something about it.
That's right. Well, I mean, hey, we got a lot of them. As a matter of fact, it was mighty funny. I just want to bring this to. I know you ready to close out, but I was talking to this lady. She's been on Judge's show, Dr. Carmen Johnson, and she was saying that she was invited to a BLM thing to speak about protecting Black women. But when she got to the meeting, she found out that it was drags and dykes there, and she said, "Oh no, I can't deal with this." And I told her, "Hey, look, it's like this. BLM is that's what it's about. That's why you saw the drags and trans and dykes there, because that's what they about." I said, "You just had to find out. I guess you found out the hard way." She like,
Found out
"Yes."
the hard way.
She said, "Yeah,
right.
They don't support. They don't support my cause." She said,
That
"I thought
happened to
they."
me.
What? You had to speak to that event?
No. Let me rephrase that. When I say it happened to me, what happened was I there was during the Alton Sterling situation, I went to a meeting in Baton Rouge with the 100 Black Men when they had attorneys come, because they were looking for attorneys to represent any of the protesters that would get arrested. And I was like, cool, I'll go do it. As I was in there, one of the things that they were talking is about the spokespersons. They were mentioning things about, well, what do you do if somebody is a cisgender or versus a transgender, and they get locked up in the female prison or the male prison? Well, that would be problematic. And as I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the others. I'm looking at this. I'm like, what the hell are we talking about? What is that? Why is that even being brought up? What did that have? Why was that even being brought up? But now when I look at how that started, and that was before Black Lives Matter. I mean, around that time, I guess you want to say in 2016, they were picking up steam, but I don't think they were this well organized at the time that they were now.
They weren't well organized to raise no $10.6 billion in no damn 6 months.
Right. This was before they got all that monies that was given to them, and I still did some stuff with it, but that's really what caught my attention. I'm like, I cannot work with these people, you know. And I would be there and I'd see, I mean, I literally saw men wearing dresses coming into there's a man wearing a dress that was in the protest, walked in a church dressed like that too. I'm talking about a big, not just he wasn't big as in height, but fat, like wearing a dress. I'm like, I thought, is this damn Mardi Gras? Is this what the hell was that? I just saw. So I'm like,
I'm
I can't support shit.
glad you got out. I'm glad you got out of there.
Right. I wasn't, well, I mean, I never was part of the organization and I did some stuff, of course, if I want to help individuals, I would, but no, I wouldn't. Uh, James, you're killing me. Big Roebuck.
Well,
um,
she said it was a meeting about 300 or 400 of them, and the majority of the room was there. There was a few straight people in there, but the
oh,
majority
yeah,
of the room
Pink Army.
was like, yeah.
The yeah. Well,
So Sean, we have to watch out for what they call these. I ain't gonna call them double agents. They use the police brutality narrative, but they really use to suck you into their movement. Because when they start doing that thing, they're not even really talking about police brutality. They're talking about other stuff that has nothing to do with the cause. I give you an example. And I was watching a show. That guy was a guy named Stephen A. Smith. He asked the NBA about the NBA player, and he said, "Which one of the NBA? What are you going to do if an NBA player refuses to get vaccinated?" The commissioner said right there, said, "We might have NBA players talk about the importance of getting vaccines." I'm like, man, y'all just need to play basketball. Y'all don't need me getting involved with that. But of course, the puppets on the string always do what the puppet master tells them. That's why they wear the Black Lives Matter shirts and stuff. They be saying, I be saying, somebody say, why did NBA players support Black Lives Matter? Because they're told to do it.
Yep. They're just slaves who do what
Well,
they're told.
it was a book called The $40 Million Slave, and they make a pair of good slaves when they out there, and that's why a lot of people got mad with Laura Ingraham, but she right when she told LeBron shut up and dribble, because I consider LeBron to be very hypocritical. You'll speak on this, but then when China told you to shut your mouth about the human rights abuses going on in China, you said you didn't. That it's not your job to get involved with that. We don't get
never forget when Tamir Rice happened that LeBron even said he didn't know anything about it, although that happened right in his backyard. So I thought was cowardly. Yeah, I thought that was BS.
Well, I would say this. I mean, he does stuff to get attention. I mean, but
he's done some great things in the community, but I mean, like I said again, I don't look to them as to save us. Celebrities are pawns used for a bigger scheme on the chessboard. So,
well, I'm gonna have to find this article seeing you and Shawn James, and it just happened to be. I just happened to be watching it the other day. I mean, looking at it, not watching it, but looking at it. And he was saying there was a cover of a magazine that had some black trans on it. He actually said that we need to thank all black women, including trans women or something. I'm like, oh God. I said, come on, man. But hey, man, when you hang out with Dwayne Wade, I can understand why. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, look,
but you take the time.
He defended Dwayne Wade's son, daughter, about some transphobic and homophobic comments, but that's something for another topic. I mean, I've already said what I had to say about Gabrielle Union. We could be here forever. So,
well, yeah. Thanks for bringing me on, and Shawn James. Always a pleasure to be with you, brother.
It's glad to be here with you guys too. Thank you guys for having me on.
No problem. I appreciate it, Sean Bernard. This has been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on channel G Boot 2786. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Please donate to the Cash App to the channel at Gavin Richard Esquire, as well as Google Pay Gavin.g1@gmail.com. I will holla. Peace out and blessings. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Season's
Yeah,
great.
Hi now.
Eat enough turkey.
Mm.
All right.